I think that's a great place to start. The Commission's motivation and rationale for placing that kind of level of tariff on China-built cars. What is the point? What is the purpose here, Julia?
I think the main purpose here is to actually make the case for local manufacturing in Europe. This is not about the nationality of manufacturers. It's about where electric vehicles and batteries are produced. We have to remember that the entire premise of the energy transition and green transition in Europe is happening on the promise of new jobs, growth, and new opportunities. And it won't happen if everything is imported, not such critical technologies like EVs and batteries. So this short term, these tariffs is really the right answer to make the case. What I do think is really important to stress and remember that tariffs alone will not save the market share of European car makers. The only strategy that can help them is to front load affordable electric vehicle models. And that's what we're missing right now from many Western brands.
It takes two to tango, as we say on this program. It's also in response to kind of Chinese government level subsidy, you know, the different market and competitive dynamics. How conscious is the EC in that when they come to a decision, as they've done with this group of EV makers?
No, that's, of course, quite important, and that has been the original aim of this entire investigation. I think it's quite important to stress that in Europe, compared to the US, actually, in the EU, we have specific duty rates for different car makers to account for the different subsidization rates. For example, you would have much higher subsidization in more state-owned companies like SAIC with their brand MG in Europe. That's why they have the highest rate, compared to someone like Tesla, that, of course, as a foreign car maker, will not receive the same subsidization, even though they will benefit more broadly from cheaper supply chains in China. So that's a big consideration. The level playing field is important, but as important is a push to also localize some of these industries in Europe.
As you mentioned, SAIC's got 36.3% additional duties that it's currently facing, so some of the highest among there. Tell us a little bit about the nuance that the EU factors in for relationships that local car companies have in China with China to produce.
So right now, we actually don't know much detail about that. The only thing that we know is that there is a possibility for a lower rate duty for some of those joint ventures when they will start importing some of these vehicles, electric vehicles, into Europe. So we're likely to find out more about them as these joint ventures basically start operating.